You're listening to the Actors Resource Podcast with Aaliyah Lay, a podcast for actors and improvisers with interviews from entertainment industry experts.
We have a wonderful guest today. I'm so grateful to have you here, Miss Lauren Buglioli, who is she's originally born in Los Angeles, where she worked as an actress before moving to London, England for middle and high school. And then she continued to work in film, television, and theater. She's a graduate of the American School in London. So she says, don't be disappointed by the lack of accent, which is hilarious. She has lots of incredible training. I'm just going to list a couple of them. There's LAMDA, UCB, Kahn, Margie Haber, and even more. Lauren is currently shooting Florida Man for Netflix alongside Edgar, Ramirez, and Paul Schneider. Wow. She mostly recently worked on Tyler Perry's Jazzman's Blues and Vendetta alongside Clive Standen, Theo Rossi, and Bruce Willis. Lauren is represented by Privileged Talent, Brilliant Talent Management, DGRW, and Sovereign Talent. She is the mother of two very sassy dogs, Vixen and Marilyn, which I just found out one is a Pomeranian and one is a border collie lab mix. And she aspires to own a tiny home in the mountains, which is amazing. As a former city girl who's known to scream expletives at bees, I got to hear this. This is both shocking and alarming, but proof that anything is possible. Oh my God. Okay. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to see you. We used to be accountability buddies. So I'm so honored that you asked me to come talk with you. You're amazing. And you've always been so supportive and encouraging. And I'm just so happy to be here with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And, everything you said is absolutely what you are: supportive, encouraging. And I just love that we lost touch over the years when we first started as accountability buddies. And it's so great that you're still open and said yes when I reached out of the blue to ask you to come be interviewed and share your success journey with us.
Of course. I'm honored. And like I said, as adults, especially in this industry, we only have room for friends where you can pick up where you left off. So I'm honored to be here.
I love that so much. So first off, I know in about 20 to 30 minutes or so, if you'd just like to share, where you started, in your words, and then what your goal was and how you got to be where you are now, which is a huge 3-part question, which is pretty much you're going to do like a 20 to 30 minute monologue almost.
Oh no, I'm so sorry for all the listeners. Oh no, if it's a monologue, do I have to cry?
Yes, absolutely. Big tears.
Great, I'm gonna sell it. Well, holy moly. I feel like we need some adult beverages, I know. Big question. And what I'll say is we're all always in process. So I'm still working on figuring all of the things out. So I'm by no means an authority on the journey. But what I'll say is the dream was always to be an artist, and the dream was always to be a working actor, whatever that looked like. And it has been a bumpy, wild ride. So I'll start by saying that there have been times that I took a break from the industry and spent some time teaching kiddos to get recentered. But there's just been this pull to this industry for me. And I've always come back to it. And I think all those bumps make it all the more gratifying when you find any kind of, what is success, but success within the industry. So
the validation and the bookings, right?
And
Quote unquote.
It's so wild because I think, I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people can think once you book or once things start to happen, all your problems are solved and that's the answer. And I think I'm grateful that the dream was always to be an artist, because when I stick with that and make it about the work and make it about the journey, then the payoff is, everything's icing on the cake. Yeah. So, because I think it's no job is the answer. No, it's just, we're always in process. So like you said, I was born in California and worked when I was little. in LA. And then my family moved around a lot for my dad's job, ended up in London where I worked over there, and then moved to New York where I studied. And then for a period of time taught little ones. I taught pre-K, and I worked with kiddos with special needs. And then moved back out to LA and spent a very trying year in LA. Did a lot of learning, a lot of growing. And my 20s were pretty wild. It was, a lot of growth and a lot of discomfort that I look back on and think, oh, those were the moments that I was learning and growing for the season I'm in now and beyond. So I look back and I'm very grateful for that experience. But when I was in it, it was super uncomfortable. So I think for anyone listening, those tough seasons are the things that condition you for where you're headed, and I think it's important for us as artists to always come back to that, because you can love the business and it's still not always rainbows and sunshine and butterflies. There are moments that can bring you to your knees, and you look back and go, thank goodness I learned that lesson in that moment, so that when I'd step into that opportunity that was for me, I was prepared for it. So I hope that's encouraging to anyone who's listening.
Lauren, do you want to, I didn't literally mean you will be doing a 20 to 30 minute monologue, even though you are doing fabulous.
I was just about to cry.
I do have a few interjection questions here and there as you chat,
Oh, it's a scene. It's a scene. It's more of a scene. Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
A little.
I'm so sorry. I literally thought I was going to be talking for 20 minutes. I was like, well, I was born in San Pedro, California. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Please interject.
No sorries needed or allowed. And you've been doing great. I mean, you just went for that. So I'm like, wow, that's so amazing. You were so good.
Committed.
You're committed, which is great. If, as you're talking about this, if you want to share, and you don't have to, do you want to share some of the more specific challenges during the 20s that you went through, and how you got through those?
Yes. Oh, I love that. So thank you for interjecting. Much needed. We would have been here for 4 days. So
would not be enough time. I think it'd be, great. So, I mean, you know what I mean? To ask an in person's entire life to be consolidated into 20 to 30 minutes is kind of crazy. So I know that this is just a snippet,
I love it. So the things that I ran into in New York and LA were really finding myself and figuring out the kind of artist I want to be, and figuring out, I think the biggest lesson I learned is that people will tell you all the time who you should be. They'll feel like they have the authority to comment on what you should look like, how you should take care of yourself, what you should be doing. And ultimately, the thing I didn't have in my 20s that I have now, thank goodness, is the anchor to say, I know who I am. I know what's healthy for me. And also I can be invested in this business and give it all I have, and realize that I'm a separate entity from Lauren, the actor, that I'm a human being who has a life to live. And my health is the most important thing. And I want to be encouraging of others and happy and joyful. And then when I'm on set, awesome. Great. Yeah. If I'm meant to be on a set, I'm meant to be on a set.
Yeah.
But I think I wanted it so badly. And I attracted people in my sphere that were willing to say things like, well, what are you willing to do to get it? And they were willing to offer unhelpful and unhealthy suggestions as to what I should do to achieve the dream. Yeah. And I think it's easy to forget that someone in a position of power, though they have an opinion, doesn't make them the authority. And you have to say, ultimately, what do I want out of my life? Right. So I hope that's helpful,
Yes, I think that's so huge, Lauren, because especially when if you're starting out, or even if you're not brand new, but maybe not making traction, I've seen some actors feeling discouraged or disempowered or desperate, right? And sometimes they make choices that aren't the best for themselves because they don't know. And I love that you went through that, so you know who you are now. And I love that you're sharing that it's okay, that just because somebody has power and knowledge doesn't mean they're always right about you as the person or as the actor. Yeah.
And I think it strengthens that filter to say, okay, everything's information, everything's data. That's how that person feels. Now, from a place of wisdom, can I filter through that and learn from the best and leave the rest?
Yeah.
You know, because I think when you are in that place of desperation, which I was, when you're in that place of desperation, you're not necessarily making choices from a place of wisdom, but from fear, right? So our brains as actors want to rationalize, well, I'm not booking. And, you know, the thing that kept getting thrown at me was like, it's all about the exterior, because I was, especially in LA, it's all about the exterior. Focus on this exterior. You're only as good as how you look, essentially. And, you know, in my soul, I know that I have so much more to offer, right? It's not about any one thing, but again, when someone's in a position of power and you're feeling desperate and you've just made this huge move across the country, you're not necessarily making a decision from a place of wisdom. So I think really learning to have that filter and remember that your worth is not aligned with a booking. Your worth is not aligned with the exterior. Your worth is not aligned with anything outside of your soul, your spirit, you know, whatever your belief system is. So I think we are sold this lie that, you know, well, when you're a series regular, like everything's great and then everything's set. Well, you know, you can show up on day one and you learn that it's not the best environment for you. You know what I mean? So I just think being invested, but remaining somewhat detached and having, you know, any kind of challenge that you've walked through is going to condition you to keep yourself in check and keep that perspective.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I love that.
We got deep so fast.
We did. I love it.
Nice to see you again. It's been 3 years. How are you? Want to talk about like my darkest moments? It's fine. Everything's great.
But I love that you're I love that you're open to sharing, because that can be vulnerable for some people, right? And I appreciate and I'm grateful that you're open to sharing that, because you're not alone. And I feel like we've all experienced that in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like you're a guiding light to show, hey, it's okay. You can get out of that, you know, and still, and still achieve what you want and your dreams without diminishing your self-worth, you know.
Amazing. I'm glad you feel that way, because I think, you know, my dream of dreams is to say, you know, literally anything is possible. And
I love that.
Just seeing, you know, people feeling discouraged in moments, I'm like, there is such breakthrough on the other side of this. And, you know, it's tough, because human nature is we want to arrive, right? We want to know we're going to be safe and okay and that everything's going to work out. And it's just nothing is linear. It's this wild ride, you know? So hopefully that, and I'm very much on the wild ride, you know, like it never ends. Like there's never a finish line so I just hope that people remember that literally anything is possible, you know?
Yes, I love that. It's so encouraging. So to continue though, from there, right? Your 20s, and then you moved to Atlanta. What prompted the move? And then how did that?
After New York and LA, I spent some time in Florida doing regional theater, and it got me back to why I do what I do. I got to just do it for the love of it, not because, you know, someone was telling me I needed to do X, Y, and Z in order to be successful, and just fell back in love with the craft. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Just, you know, I got to play some bucket list roles and had the time of my life. And I was in Florida and then saw what was happening in Atlanta. My mom's from Smyrna. So I just started looking into Atlanta, and there was this pivotal moment where like something in my intuition just said to go.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a year and I'm just going to go and build a life there and see what happens. And worst case scenario, I go back to New York or I go back to Florida, or, you know, like just try to release the fear of having it all figured out. So
I love it.
Listen, it was, I cried myself to sleep for the first couple months, and it forced me to be vulnerable and put myself out there and ask people to get coffee and take all the classes I could take. And I think, again, just falling in love with that process of I'm building a life here. I'm not going to focus on the external results. I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other and study and work my tush off. And sorry for saying tush. And I
swear a lot, just so you know. I swear.
No, I said tush in exchange for an expletive. So I'm trying to be good. I'm from New York, you know. So just said I'm gonna focus on the process, focus on the work, and I know who I am now, and I trust that if something is for me, it's for me. And it was like life just exploded in the best way. It felt like I learned what I needed to learn, and there are still, obviously, nothing is figured out. There's still trying moments and ups and downs. And I think for any artist, we know there are peaks and valleys all the time. But
yeah,
I just have this perspective of, you know, I walked away from the business multiple times thinking I'd never act again. So everything feels like a miracle. And this is so corny, but and interject whenever. I know I'm going back into my monologue, but when I lived in New York, I worked at Lululemon.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things to do is when I meet a celebrity, not fangirl. So my best work as an actor is staying cool. But I saw Patina Miller in Lululemon, and I had just seen her in Pippin on Broadway, and she's a force and I love her. And I was helping her buy stretchy pants. And I asked her, I said, you know, I just admire you so much. Can I ask what advice you'd have for a performer?
Yeah.
And she said, every time like it's your last time. She said, every audition, every performance, like it's the last time.
Wow.
And I just love that, because you can be doing a self-tape and, you know, I have moments where I fall off and I have to bring myself back to this, but like reminding ourselves that this is the thing we love. Yeah. And that whether it's a self-tape or you're singing in your kitchen or you're on set, just reminding yourself it's a miracle that you get to do the thing you love professionally, you know? And call me and remind me of that when I'm stressing out over something insignificant.
Text me, and I will remind you.
Yeah, but I try to come back to that. You know what I mean?
No, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm grateful. That's one of my favorite things to ask people. And she and Misty Copeland have my favorite answers. Misty Copeland said that I met her in an airport, and she said anything she ever did as an artist, she never felt ready for. And that was on the other side of it, what made it so rewarding. I know.
Oh my gosh. No way. That's crazy. She's so brave. Oh my God.
I know. And it's just good reminders. You get the best nuggets by asking people that. So I invite you to steal that, listener. I invite you to steal that.
I love it. Going back a little bit, it sounds like not only did you follow your intuition and you were scared, but you did it anyway, and you moved to Atlanta and you cried for like 2 months. But you took action, inspired action, right? And the main foundation, it sounded like, that kept you on track was the fact that you knew who you were by then, right? Did you want to share how you got to figure out and really embrace who you are, what you stood for, how you got to, not that you have to share that part unless you want to, but how you got and transitioned into knowing that and feeling strong and solid?
Absolutely. But before, I just want to say you are such an amazing interviewer that I have been literally all over the map, and you just so eloquently brought me back and brought all that together. I just want to say I'm blown away.
That's so kind of you.
Yeah, no,
I
really.
feel you were all over the map. I thought you were great. I thought all of this is wonderful.
Oh my gosh, you're a fantastic interviewer. So following intuition and acting while afraid, I think reminds me that I'm alive, you know, and as corny as that is, when I first moved to New York, I lost my health for a while. I had bilateral pneumonia, which led to a bunch of immune system issues. And I was bedridden for quite a while, and it led to all kinds of health problems. So there was a moment where life really, like, something hit pause, right? And I couldn't really be present in my life. So as trying as things can get, I think that gratitude for being alive and being, you know, someone will apologize, you know, reach out and apologize because a one-liner got cut. And I'm like, do you know what champagne problems these are? That, like, I get to do the thing I love and I got cut. Like, I'm strangely excited that, like, I'm in the game at all. So it's helpful for me to reframe obstacles as opportunities when, you know, for a period of time I lost everything, you know?
Yeah.
So taking action, and I think knowing who I am came from not knowing who I was and trying to be other people's idea of me. So, you know, just as an example, there was a time where reps when I was young wanted me to be like the hot, dumb girl. And my soul reads as an 87-year-old a lot of the time. So there was this weird contradiction that didn't quite work. So I wasn't booking. And
right.
I was trying to be the thing. And I think going after that so badly and chasing something that felt ultimately insignificant, like my soul doesn't want to chase being this idea that someone has of me. But I think walking through that, looking back, it was a great thing, because you know, life's meant to be lived. And just like you can't tell someone to leave a relationship that isn't good for them, or you can't force someone out of a job if they're not ready to leave, right? Everything in due time. So I look back, and while there were painful periods, I think I really learned who I was in those moments. And it prepares you for the roles that you're meant to play, and it makes you appreciate the opportunities that are meant for you. And, like, you know, I think my family looks back and says, you know, wish it wasn't quite so hard. But I look at it, I'm like, we were learning things, you know? I mean, like, guys, the journey though. Yeah. So yeah, I think ultimately I learned a lot about myself in those moments, and it allows me to enjoy all the opportunity now, you know? And even just moving to a new place and saying, I get to start fresh and have this adventure, even though it was not all rainbows and sunshine and butterflies, it was an adventure, you know? And so I'm super grateful, but I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that was great. I feel like it's great too, because of the hindsight you have that you're sharing with everyone, you know, because sometimes if you're in it, you don't know that you're going to be out of it, right? So if anybody's listening to this and they're in it, I think you're inspiring to let people know, like, you'll get out of it, you know, and there's something good in there, you know, there can be something good in there.
I'm so glad you say that. I had an experience today that was a bit discouraging. And, you know, someone had some feedback for me, like unsolicited feedback that wasn't the friendliest. I'll just say that. And I thought, you know, you're not in it for that person who has that feedback for you. You're in it for the 19-year-old version of yourself who didn't know that anything was possible, and for anyone else who someday needs to hear your story and know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and know that there's another side, and know that nothing lasts forever. So I so appreciate you saying that, because that's, I think, one of the biggest things about knowing who I am is knowing my why, you know, and I know that's thrown around a lot, but I dream of dreams, again, is to make a difference and have a platform to inspire other people to know that good or bad, nothing is permanent,
Yeah.
So, and that ultimately you grow from everything you walk through,
Yeah. And you just got me all verklempt, just so you know. I don't know if you can tell, but I was like all
Listen, now it's time for your monologue and you get to cry. Go.
I can just cry right now based on you.
Perfect.
Okay. What was that?
No. I was just gonna keep chatting with you.
No, I love it. Right. Well, now I want to be respectful of your time. So now that you're in this wonderful place, what's next for you? I know that you're in the middle of shooting right now, right? So thank you so much for spending time with us in the middle of your shooting.
I'm honored to spend time with you. Are you kidding? Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's going to be so great. I'm like, everyone watch Lauren's shows. What was the name of the current project you're working on?
It's called Florida Man.
Yes. Do you know when it's going to be out? Another year or so?
I don't know. I'll keep you posted.
Yes, please do, so that everyone can, watch and follow and everything. But so you're working on that now, and you're working still towards your purpose, your goal, your why, right? Anything else right now that you're doing to help support that? Or are you just focusing right now because you are shooting?
I love these questions. So you really are an amazing interviewer. So I am a huge self-development nerd, and
yes.
And I work for a company called Arvold Warner Studio that I run a mindset group for their online membership for artists.
Yes.
And I do consults and coaching, and getting ready to lead like an Artist's Way.
Yes.
So I think that's where, I love working for that company in tandem with pursuing a career as a screen artist, because one feeds the other. And I'm personally, the reason I say I'm a self-development nerd, I'm working on my morning and evening routines. I'm working on my daily habits. I'm working on the foundational stuff that never changes. I think there's this idea that, and why I started by saying I don't have anything figured out, is there's this idea that you book something and you somehow arrive and then everything changes. You're just still a person doing your thing and trying to figure it out and hold it all together with one bobby pin, It's just, it never ends. And I think you just become more of who you are as things evolve. So I will continue to become more of a self-development nerd, and more driven and motivated to help other people. That's the dream, is to just keep auditioning and keep working. I want to be working until I'm not here anymore, and just enjoy the ride and keep trying to figure it out. We're all in it together. And I think just enjoying the process as much as I can. So
I love that so much. And it's the whole self-development aspect. I feel like it's so important, and I love that you're teaching classes for it.
Thanks. It's so much fun. And I think the through line I notice is that everyone's just so hard on themselves. And everyone that I work with is so self-critical when I look at them and just look at them with stars in my eyes, So I think learning to look at ourselves the way other people see us, we're so hard on ourselves, and realizing no matter where you are doing much better than you think you are doing.
That's so true. It's so interesting, because I was talking to this other lady. She's a lawyer, and just real quick, I just thought she was so amazing. And she is exactly what you said. She didn't see herself the way I saw her.
Right.
And I was like, what? But you're practically a genius, seriously, right? So fascinating. I love that. Okay, so we're about to end our interview. Just last words of anything you want to share that you think would be helpful. Your question to yourself. that you ask at Lululemon. Somebody's coming up. Your question to yourself with your answer.
First time I've been asked my question. I'm so honored. Oh my gosh. Wowie, wow. Advice I'd have for someone in this industry. Wherever you can, reconnect with your joy, because it's magnetic and it's the thing that will keep you going. And if that becomes your anchor and you fight for that, like, let the haters do what they're going to do. Let the people have their opinions, let the jobs come and go. But if your anchor is joy and you see things as miracles, then that's magnetic and more of it will keep coming to you.
I love that.
Well, call me and remind me of it when I'm having a bad day. Okay.
Text me. I'm just gonna, what I'm going to do, random intuition. If I think of you, I'll be like, oh, I better text Lauren, just say joy.
Yes, please. Because that's the thing. I think it's important as someone who runs a mindset group. I'm very open about, I joke that it's good that I've invested in a lot of therapy to be able to talk about these things, because no one has anything figured out. And it's important to be open about being in process, and that it's not about being positive or happy or joyful all the time. It's about that being your center, that when you get out of alignment, you come back to that, that it doesn't have to be, I'm not advocating being a human Care Bear. I'm just saying, that can be your anchor.
Right. And I love especially how you, I know we're going to say goodbye, but I love especially how you just said that you're at such a level of success now compared to when we were first, in just 3 short years, when we were first accountability buddies. Amazing. And that I love that you said it's not like I'm going to get there and everything will be solved and fixed. Like, no, it's a process. I love that.
And also, I'm no different than anyone else. And none of us are like, we look at celebrities, we look at people who have achieved things that we want to achieve and somehow put ourselves on a different playing field. Everyone's circumstances are different. But you have what it takes. Just focus on the work, keep going. And again, I say this to myself when I'm thinking, because it never ends, right? We get to a certain point and we think, well, I have so much further to go. I have so much more I want to do. And it's like, be where your feet are, focus on the work, and trust that it's all unfolding the way it should. And like you said, 3 years ago was in a very different place. So it's hopefully to anyone listening to this, again, I left the business multiple times. It's been a winding road. Anything's possible. So
I love that. Yes, anything is possible. I love that.
Of course.
All right.
We could hug right now.
I wish. Oh.
I feel like we just went on a journey together.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Lauren. This was amazing. And I appreciate you being here. And I love your success. And I see continued success in all aspects of your life. Well-rounded.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. And I look forward to getting reminders from you to realign with joy.
I am. I'm going to. I mean, you asked for it, so I will do it.
I did. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm just really grateful to reconnect with you.
Yeah, I'm grateful too for you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
And thank you for listening to the Actors Resource Podcast with me, Aaliyah Lay. I would love to hear from you, so email me, aaliyahklei@gmail.com, ALYAKLEI @gmail.com.